of you who have not met me before, my name is Ray. I had the absolute honor of being mom to Luke, who you can see in the photo here. He was a 3-week NICU grad. He was also born with a very rare chromosome condition called mosaic trisomy 22, and I had the absolute honor of being his mom for 14 years. Today, I want to talk to you a bit today about what it means to figure out where you fit in the world of research as a partner. I know that this is a new concept for many of you, and the scope of it is going to feel quite significant in terms of really trying to figure out and where you exactly fit in this large picture that is creating new knowledge in the world. Now, when it comes to thinking about that, there are a variety of different processes that we go through in research itself in terms of establishing things like a research question. And sometimes research questions can take some significant amount of time to even kind of be crafted themselves. So when it comes to thinking about your role in research, just remember that as well too, is that this is going to be something that might take a little bit of time to figure out along the way as well too. And one important factor that can help you figure out what sort of answer to provide for that question is really time and honesty and vulnerability and communication skills with the research team that you're partnering with. But let's dig in a little bit more about that. So when it comes to perspectives in the larger scale of things, when it comes to the development of research, what's lovely about this connection between partnership with researchers, as well as the variety of perspectives that can come about at the table when it comes to planning research, is that lived experience definitely has its place. And as you can see in this photo here, people can design a variety of different things with the best of intentions in mind, feeling like they have garnered all of the perspectives that are potentially available to them to answer a specific research question. But sometimes there is a missing perspective along the way, and that really kind of becomes a big impactful factor within helping answer that question appropriately. And that role is you. Sometimes that perspective really helps people see, well, that wasn't quite what you were thinking of. And I'd like to share exactly what my perspective has been with that in context in the past. And so those insights that you bring offer an opportunity for real life application with research. Because really, at the end of the day, there is a lot to be shared from the science side, from what we know from scientific literature, what we know from physicians and clinicians who work in particular fields, but the other side of the coin there. And it's not a matter of being one side or the other in this picture, for example. This is a beautiful reflection from either direction, and both have equal merit. But at the same time, your story is that reflection as to how that work works out and plays out in the world. So consider the fact that your experiences, while they might not be a monolith, they might represent at least part of the population of people in which they are looking to connect with in the work or whatever they're designing. But so it's really important to think about the fact that you are bringing something to this conversation is that you are helping tell the full story and the full picture when it comes to research. So the next question really ends up being, what can I do? What can I contribute to the conversation? Well, part of that, of course, is obviously the lived experience piece. But another factor to consider here is that you will likely come across brand new skills in this larger conversation that you're about to have with researchers and scientists. So this kind of ends up being a real need for you to consider what you're willing and most comfortable to take steps forward in learning. This might come from a variety of different rules, but this is where that vulnerability and honesty comes in this space as well too. For myself, my own experiences when it comes to trying new things, there was always a little bit of nerves when it comes to the idea of trying new things. I remember being asked once whether or not I'd be interested in designing the poster for a conference, and I realized at one point, like, I'm just not ready for not only being able to communicate that, but that feels like a very big project to me, and perhaps a little too big than what I'm emotionally ready for. And I was honest with them, and they decided that the next tangible step with that was it would be great for you to learn this next step, but also to do that with a partner. And so one of the researchers and myself worked through that process together, and it became a lot easier. The load became a lot lighter to absorb that new skill set in my life and know that I helped in the development of that. And I took a brave new step was something that was personally very validating to me. But let's dig in a little bit deeper on the subject here. Now, there's a variety of different things that can come about, and this can come from the entire phases, several phases of research that come about here. So you can do things like helping write the grant. There's often a lot of little major questions that are asked as to whether or not funders will help determine to say that this is going to be research that is important for to move forward. And so you may help figure out what sort of nuances come within helping to justify why a certain thing is an important research question to fund. Sometimes it's telling your story. That can come in a variety of ways, be it within the larger picture of the research itself. It could be afterwards as you're disseminating that research at conferences, a lot of different opportunities. You can help facilitate focus groups because you speak the language of the families that you'd be connecting with already. Other things can be asking things like designing questions that will be asked of participants, help create the recruitment strategy, attend meetings, a ton of different options that might be available to you in terms of trying it. And I really do encourage you to consider what new concepts you can bring to the table and perhaps what skill sets you already have and how they might be beneficial to some of these areas of research as well too. And I think it's always important to really consider how you can explain yourself within these opportunities that come about, and just say that, I would like to try, but I would also like an opportunity to potentially opt out if this is not feeling right or comfortable in terms of being a role that I want to take on in this research. When you can say that ahead of time, that helps them better strategize how to involve you in some of the research roles that are connected to the study that you're working on. But there are a few points to really consider here as well too, and what I like to think about when approaching a new study is to really keep some curiosity about the idea of approaching new tasks. If you're not comfortable with those, definitely talk to the people right away and maybe think about something else that you can do instead. You can also help people better understand that acronyms are a very challenging thing to hear as well too, and to better understand what a role is. It might be something where they need to convey certain tasks in a much plainer language than what they're used to as well too. A lot of different things can come about with this that really might be unexpected, but if you are feeling kind of like you don't trust yourself in a situation, the best bet really ends up being be honest, and hopefully someone can be supportive for you along the way. Now, when it comes to the idea of working within the larger scope of a research project, it can feel a bit non-linear along the way. We talk about a lot of clickbait articles on the internet, things like that, how to do XYZ in 4 easy steps. Sometimes within certain research studies that you're working on, that might not be how this feels. It might feel a bit like the idea of trying to catch fireflies. Now, if you were out in the world trying to catch fireflies, it's not like fireflies already understand your intention. They don't kind of immediately line up for you and be like, yep, we're ready. Let's do this. It's something that comes with a little bit of chaos and a little bit of precision and a little bit of planning. And at that time, as things come about, you catch that first one. It took a little bit extra work, but the next time it's going to get easier. And the next time it's going to be a little bit more easier than that. And as that continues to move forward, your jar is going to be filled with light. And that's what you want in these cases for sure. So I just want to take an opportunity to say that you have this. And if you have any questions along the way in terms of where you fit within the larger framework of the study, definitely talk to someone. Be honest. It's totally okay, and no one is going to judge you for that.